Are we ready? Welcome, everyone, to the fifth annual Omer Aliyah, a 7-week spiritual boot camp of personal elevation, or simply known as TOA. My name is Nuriel Shor, and thank you for tuning into the Hod Seminar of our 7-week empowerment series. TOA is a global grassroots movement for every Jew around the world to utilize the power of Sfirat Omer and reveal our individual and national greatness. Inside each of us is a light waiting to be unleashed, and by systematically rectifying spiritual blockages with Hashem's help, we will not only transform into the greatest versions of ourselves, but will also generate blessing for the world. Iteruta dil tata, iteruta dil ela. Our actions below will cause actions on high. By embarking on this journey together, we travel in time from Pesach to Shavuot, forming a global collective consciousness of Ish Echad B'Lev Echad, one person with one heart, just like our people experienced over 3,300 years ago at the base of Har Sinai. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our community partners and to thank and recognize our sponsors who are part of this grand vision. Suzanne Schweitzer, Fred and Susie Totchek, Josh Reef, and Charlene Venner in memory of Nathan, Shirley, and Philip Venner, Zechon Levracha. For more information about being a community partner, sponsor, or TOA in general, visit www.omeraliyah.com. We are currently in the week of Hod and have the pleasure of learning from Rabbi Mordechai Lebhar. Rabbi Lebhar studied in leading yeshivot in Eretz Israel and America under prominent poskim and now serves as Rosh Kollel of Link in Los Angeles. Internationally known for his Magen Avot series on the halachot and minhagim from Hachmei Morocco, his work has helped spark a renaissance in Moroccan halachic tradition worldwide. He is also co-author of the recently published book Ladder of Growth, a guide to incremental growth during the Omer, which is available on Amazon and many other online book retailers. I am personally learning from it this Sfirat Omer and cannot recommend it enough. Before we begin, a couple housekeeping remarks. This seminar is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Omer Aliyah YouTube channel. I will then stop the recording, after which we will have an opportunity for open and confidential conversation with Rabbi Lebhar. May Hashem bless the Omer Aliyah and all who are involved so that we may experience individual, national, and global Geula speedily in our days. I now hand it over to you, Rabbi Lebhar.
Thank you. Wonderful. I'm so glad to be here. This is a beautiful thing. Omer Aliyah. Most people look at Sfirat Omer just as something that is, you can't listen to music. Why not? We really don't know why. You don't take haircuts. Why not? We don't really know why. Why you don't get married? We know the students of Rabbi Akiva died, but there's definitely more to it. And I am the lucky winner that I get to speak about the week of Hod. Unbelievable, the week of Hod, of illumination. I want to start off with a story, and then we'll understand the story a little bit more. One of the great Hasidic Rebbes was called the Divrei Chaim. The Divrei Chaim was Reb Chaim Tzanzer. If anybody heard of Reb Shayale learned a little bit under the Divrei Chaim. If anybody ever heard of Lanyado Hospital in Netanya, that's from the Tzanzer Rebbe that survived the war, who was a descendant of the Divrei Chaim. The Divrei Chaim was of the opinion that the whole week of Hod, we don't say Tachanun. That means from Friday morning, the whole week through, that we count Chesed Shebahod, Gvura Shebahod, Tiferet Shebahod, Netzach Shebahod, Hod Shebahod, Yesod Shebahod, and Malchut Shebahod, no Tachanun. Why? Says the Divrei Chaim, because it's written in the Zohar HaKadosh, in Parashat Beha'alotcha. The exact page, I think, is Kuf Nun Bet Amud Bet. The Zohar HaKadosh says that the week after Pesach Sheni, which is tonight, the week of Hod, the gates of heaven are open for us to ask whatever we want. And since the gates of heaven are open, how could you say Tachanun? So actually, the Divrei Chaim had a very holy son called the Divrei Yecheskel. Okay, so there's Divrei Chaim, and he had a son, the Divrei Yecheskel. The Divrei Yecheskel was with him once during the week of Hod, and the Divrei Chaim didn't say Tachanun. So his son was there. He said, "What does that mean? Of course we have to say Tachanun. If the gates of heaven are open, that's more of a reason to say Tachanun." I mean, do you understand what's happening? The son, the illustrious son, is arguing on the illustrious father. What's going on over here? So the Divrei Chaim turns to his mechutan, that was the Divrei Cheskel's father-in-law, and he tells him, "I have a very smart son. My son is very, very smart." But everybody was looking around the Divrei Cheskel to argue on his father. They didn't understand it so well. What happened was that day there was a seuda, and the Divrei Yecheskel didn't come to the seuda. People thought it's because he got into a little bit of an argument with his father. But when the Divrei Chaim went away, the Divrei Yecheskel explained the following. It's actually when I say he went away, the Divrei Chaim, when he passed away, the Divrei Yecheskel said, "Now, mate," he says, "I'm going to reveal to you what happened on that day that I had an argument with my father. What happened was in Shamayim, I had a dream that it's time for me to be Rebbe. It's time for me to lead the flock. There's a rule that one kingdom doesn't overlap with another kingdom even a little bit, which means that was my time of my father, the time of my father to pass away. So I told myself, if my father has to pass away because I have to assume leadership, I'll assume leadership now by difference of opinion against my father. And that way I assert my place and he doesn't have to pass away." Indeed, he says the Divrei Chaim lived 22 years after that story, even though he was supposed to pass away then. The Divrei Yecheskel explained that that was the zichut. That's the famous story that happened between the Divrei Chaim and the Divrei Yecheskel. Moral of the story is never argue on your father. Second moral of the story, when you see great tzaddikim arguing, don't get into it. But the third moral of the story that has to do with us is the whole week of Hod, there are Hasidim that don't say Tachanun, and others that will say on the contrary. Of course, we should say Tachanun. It's more of a time that Hashem should answer our tefillot. So something's going on over here with Midat Hod. Something very special is happening. What is Midat Hod? So, in general, I want to start a little bit back. I'm sure somebody may have covered this, but I want to explain why Sfirat Omer, we are in a state of a more tense state of Midat Hadin, and why this amazing program, the Omer Aliyah, teaches us that you could grow a lot during Sfirat Omer. And also, let's understand why Pesach Sheni falls on the first day of Hod. Okay, so let's understand Hod. Let's understand Sfirat Omer in general. Let's understand the Midah of Hod and why Pesach Sheni falls on Hod. So, in order to understand this, we have to backtrack a little bit and understand why these are such special days. Why the days of Sfirat HaOmer are so energized that a person could literally rise and go up level upon level till he reaches the 50th level of Bina. Where do we get this from? So let me tell you a thought. And this is, I'll start with the Noam Elimelech. The great Rebbe, the Rebbe Melech, which I was born on his yortzeit, which is why, even though I have a Moroccan in me, I was also born on the yortzeit of the Noam Elimelech with a little Hasidish in me. And one of the great Moroccan Rabbanim, Rabbi Avram ben Musa, that I had the zechut of publishing his book. I'm also born on his yortzeit. So I have a deep connection. And recently this year, I got even deeper connection to the Noam Elimelech. And he says like this: why is it that the Malach teaches the child everything in the stomach before they're born, and then he makes them forget it all? What's the point? If they're going to forget it all, why should they learn it in the first place? Says the Noam Elimelech. If a person wouldn't have reached the level of understanding all the Torah once, even though it's wiped away from him, the actual power that he knows what Torah is will give him the ability to rise above his materialistic sense. If he wouldn't have had that experience, he would have never been able to pull his neshama to do a mitzvah against the forces of the body. That's what he says. Incredible. He says the neshama would have been ever able to fight against the guf. It would be a losing battle, downhill. And therefore, says the Noam Elimelech, when a person reaches a level, even though they forget it, it's easier to get it back. This is what Sfirat HaOmer is about. On the night of Pesach, we had these tremendous illuminations that came down, a gift from heaven. But alas, anything that's not hard work, anything that you don't earn, doesn't stay with you. It went back. It's called the orot and the mochin. The mochin are the energies. We'll call them the emanations that come down. And once Sfirat HaOmer was over, I'm sorry, once Pesach was over, all those emanations went up. How many mochin are there? So in Leila Seder, there was the three matzot, which was Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the mochin of the male mochin. And Leila Seder, there was the four Arba Kosot, which is Keneged, the female mochin, which is Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. That's why we have four cups of wine. What happened is when those mochin went up, so we lost the opportunity. We have to earn them now for 49 days until we get to Shavuot to be able to receive the Torah. So the mochin start coming down little by little. But how many mochin we said? There are four mochin, three male, but there's four female. But it's really we'll call them. It's the root of the mochin is four. On the first night, in the first week of Sfirat HaOmer, you have the mochin of Chachma, of wisdom. On the second week of Sfirat HaOmer, you have the mochin of Bina. On the third, then we split it into male, female. I can't get into the details why we do it that way. These are esoteric understandings, but I want you to understand a little bit of the background going on. There are the mochin of chasadim of da'at, and then there's gevura of da'at. So the third mochin is da'at, knowledge. So it's chabad, chesed, bina, da'at. Da'at splits into two. So the third week is da'at of the chasadim, and the fourth is da'at of gevura. So we're in the fifth week now. What's the fifth week? We ran out of mochin. What's the fifth week? The fifth week is bringing back the original light of Pesach, the mochin of Chachma. That's why it's a tremendous joy, because we are taking the illumination and emanations that happened on Leila Seder, and we're bringing them back. Hence, it's Pesach Sheni. We are Pesach Sheni now because we are bringing back the light of the original Pesach. That's the week of Hod. That's why the Zohar Kadosh calls it a time where the gates are open, because it's like Lela Seder and it lasts for 7 days, just like Pesach lasts 7 days. Incredible. That's why this week, since we receive these illuminations of Hod, it illuminates the whole week. So some Hasidim won't say Tachanun the whole week. Some will say, on the contrary, you can ask for whatever you want. I want to say Tachanun to be able to ask from Hashem many things. So with this, we can understand also why the days of Sfirat HaOmer are days of din, are days of strict judgment. The reason why they're days of strict judgment is because anytime a person has an opportunity to grow, the Yetzer Hara comes in and says, I don't want you to grow. I'm going to throw at you everything that I have so that you shouldn't grow. That's din. That's judgments. That's why it's times of din. When it's times of din, we don't get married. We're focused on a mission. It's not necessarily only mourning. It's also focusing and having a boot camp of working on the midot. Now, in our book of Ladder of Growth that Nuriel gave a shout out to, thank you very much. Those of you who don't have it, I recommend it. I know the author's not so good, but the book is better than the author. So the other author is pretty good, but one of the authors I could speak for. Now, this book, what it does is that it gives you practical lessons every single day of the Omer to work on your midot. But there are different dimensions how you could work on your midot. There are the 48 things that are mentioned in the Mishnah, how to acquire Torah. So randomly, if we go to day number 28, the Midah where we were today on Midah 28 is being careful, not taking credit for oneself. Eno machzik tova leatzmo. Somebody wants to acquire Torah, eno machzik Torah leatzmo. That's practically on the 49th, we review everything. That comes from the Maharal. That comes from the Altar of Kelm. They taught us this method. Then there's the Kabbalistic method of the combinations of the different midot of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut, which I'm sure you've been discussing. So I'm not going to delve into that. But tonight, what I am introducing is another dimension of working on ourselves. It's the mochin. It's the energies of the mind that we receive of chokhmah, binah, and da'at. And that comes back this week. We have chokhmah. And it's not only chokhmah, it's chokhmah that illuminates. Why is it called a hod? Let me tell you a brief thought. How many more minutes do I have?
As much as you want, Rabbi.
No, I know I'm respectful of everyone's time over here. I think we'll speak for 5 more minutes and then we'll have questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So what does hod mean? Hod means hoda'ah. One of the first places that we see in the Torah about hoda'ah is when Leah had her fourth child, and she said, "Hapam odet Adonai," and she called her son Yehuda. Why this time I'm going to thank Hashem? Why not the other times? So Rashi tells us that she knew that there was four women, two of them the wives, two of them the helpers of the imahot, and each one was going to have three kids, and she had a fourth. That means she had extra on what she was supposed to get. That's a thank you. Hoda'ah is getting something extra, something that you don't deserve. What we don't deserve, we thank Hashem extra for. We didn't have to have Pesach Sheni. We lost an opportunity on not bringing the Korban Pesach for whatever reason we had. We weren't able to participate. Hashem says, I'm going to give you that extra emanation, that extra light of Chokhmah, that you could bring the Pesach Sheni again. I'm going to give you that extra Chokhmah, that you have an opportunity to have more illumination, even though you had it on Pesach. I'm giving it to you again. I'm giving you an opportunity that you didn't have beforehand. The week of Hod is light and illumination, but it's the week of Hoda'ah, of thanking Hashem. It would be a beautiful thing this week to work on appreciation on what we have. It's unbelievable. I was on my way here back from a funeral of a woman who dedicated her life to children. She used to work in a bank. She says, okay, I did my job. She's worked in literally every single Jewish school in the city and was always available for her grandchildren because she was thankful that Hashem gave her that opportunity to have children and grandchildren, and she wanted to capitalize on that. On my way here, I noticed that a acquaintance and friend of mine started putting out pictures of thank you because just today, a few hours ago, his car turned over with him in the car, and he didn't come out with a single broken bone or a scratch. And he was just giving his praise and thanks to Hashem. Too often, we have to wait for something happens in order to give praise to Hashem. This week, we have to circumvent that and work in our prayer by modim and say thank you to Hashem for us not be. We don't expect anything. You know where you find that people expect everything on not telemarketing calls, but service calls. Let's say you call Spectrum or you're going to call T-Mobile or somebody that you expect everything. You know, oh, why are you, this happened to me, that happened to me. The guy on the other end is saying, well, this guy expects everything. He doesn't appreciate it already has a service. So unfortunately, we live in a culture that we think that everything comes to us. We expect everything, and therefore we expect health. We expect a good partner. So we expect finding a good shidduch. We expect children. Nothing is guaranteed. Everything is a matana from Hashem. We don't have a chazaka. That means we don't have a premise. And we don't have a right to demand. We have the ability to be appreciative. And that's what we should be this week. That is Midat HaHod. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi Lebar. What a beautiful introduction to not only Hod, but also bridging these notions of the Mochin, the Chachman that's in the first week of Sfirot Omer via the Sedarim, or I should say the second night of the Seder, and bridging it back to this fifth week of Hod, and these really, really beautiful concepts. And yes, it's a tremendously powerful week, as you mentioned. The heavens are open. You have Pesach Sheni, and we have Lag BaOmer, right? With Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar. And so this is a very, very, very auspicious week in the 7-week journey. And we thank you for carving out the time to be with us. I know that you have a very busy schedule, and it is truly, truly appreciated. We don't expect it, and we thank you for it. So um,
Good.
I look forward to seeing all of you here, B'ezrat Hashem, next week as we continue our journey, where we will be discussing Yesod. So thank you all again, and I will stop the recording now, for which we will have a couple of minutes to spend this time with Rabbi Lebhar.